They called it Hutchins' folly. At 23:17 on the night of March 14, 1943, Lieutenant Commander Philip Hutchins crouched in HMS Starling's radio room, his hands moving across a modified Type 271 radar transmitter that 3 Royal Navy admirals had officially forbidden him to use. The 31-year-old anti-submarine warfare officer had been perfecting this technique for 6 weeks. His crew thought he was insane. Command thought he was insubordinate. His fellow destroyer captains called the modification a waste of valuable equipment and radio suicide that would alert every U-boat within 50 miles. But Hutchins had done the mathematics. If his theory was correct, the German U-boat that had been stalking convoy HX-229 for the past 4 hours was about to surface directly into a kill zone. If his theory was wrong, he'd just revealed his ship's position to every submarine in the North Atlantic. The next 14 minutes would prove which. And the next 6 months would see 47 German U-boats sent to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean by a ridiculous radio trick that changed submarine warfare forever. March 1943 was the worst month of the Battle of the Atlantic. German U-boats were sinking Allied merchant ships faster than Britain could replace them. 108 ships lost in March alone, 627,000 tons of shipping sent to the bottom. The mathematics were simple and terrifying. If the sinking rate continued, Britain would starve by autumn. Germany would win. The problem wasn't finding U-boats. The problem was that U-boats were hunting in wolf packs. Coordinated groups of 8 to 15 submarines attacking convoys simultaneously from multiple directions. When escorts detected one submarine and moved to attack, 3 more would strike from different angles. The merchants died while the destroyers chased shadows. Commander Hutchins had watched this happen twice in February 1943. Convoy SC-118, 9 merchant ships sunk. Convoy on 166, 14 ships lost. He detected submarines, attacked them, killed none. The wolf pack slaughtered convoys while his depth charges exploded in empty water. After on 166, Hutchins spent 3 days analyzing engagement reports. The pattern was clear. U-boats detected British radar transmissions and dove before destroyers could attack. The Metox radar detector gave U-boats a 30-second warning. That 30-second advantage was killing convoys. Hutchins realized something critical. The Metox wasn't just detecting radar, it was detecting a specific frequency. Type 271 radar operated at 3000 MHz, a distinctive signature that German operators could identify instantly. But what if you could make the radar lie about its position? On February 28, 1943, Hutchins began rewiring HMS Starling's radar system without authorization. The Type 271 radar was the Royal Navy's most advanced system, factory calibrated. Sealed. The technical manual explicitly stated, "Do not attempt field modifications." Hutchins wasn't interested in repairs. He was interested in making the radar transmit on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Every engineer said it was impossible. Hutchins' idea was radical. Install a frequency multiplier in the waveguide, a circuit that would take the 3000 MHz primary signal and generate a second signal at 4200 MHz. The primary signal would come from the destroyer's actual position, but the 4200 MHz signal could be directional, aimed somewhere else. If the U-boat detected both signals, they'd assume there were 2 destroyers. They'd maneuver to avoid both contacts and surface directly into the real destroyer's kill zone. The modification required 3 components. Hutchins didn't have authorization to obtain. 40 feet of silver-plated copper wire, stripped from a crashed Sunderland flying boat. 6 high-voltage capacitors, fabricated by hand using mica sheets and brass foil. A directional antenna array, built from a salvaged steel mess tray and copper mesh. The entire modification weighed 14 pounds. Installation took 6 nights working alone after midnight. Nobody noticed. By March 7, 1943, HMS Starling had a radar system that could lie about its own position. Hutchins tested it on March 8. The system worked perfectly, but he had no way to test whether a U-boat would actually fall for the deception. He needed combat conditions. He got them on March 14, 1943. Convoy HX-229 departed New York, carrying tanks, aircraft, ammunition, and fuel oil. Destination: Liverpool. By March 12, German naval intelligence had identified HX-229 as a priority target. 19 U-boats were moving to intercept. The wolf pack was designated Robgraf. robber baron. This wasn't a random patrol. This was a planned massacre. March 14th, 22:15 hours. U-boat shadowing the convoy from 4,000 yards astern. Hutchins made his decision. Time to test the modification. At 23:17, he activated the frequency multiplier. A second signal at 4,200 MHz beamed out at a 30-degree angle to starboard of the destroyer's actual position. Inside U-534, Kapitän Lieutenant Friedrich Steinhoff watched his METOX detector. 2 signals. 2 destroyers. Standard procedure. Dive. Turn to starboard. Pass between them underwater, surface behind the convoy. Steinhoff ordered the dive at 23:19. Hutchins watched his sonar. The U-boat was maneuvering exactly as predicted, moving to starboard, trying to pass between 2 destroyers that didn't exist. At 23:24, Hutchins ordered flank speed. HMS Starling turned hard to starboard, heading directly for where U-534 would surface. Steinhoff surfaced at 23:31. U-534 broke the surface 1,200 yards directly ahead of HMS Starling. The destroyer's guns opened fire. First salvo missed by 30 yards, second salvo hit the pressure hull, water flooded the torpedo room, third salvo destroyed the conning tower. Steinhoff was killed instantly. U-534 sank at 23:34. No survivors. 52 German sailors dead in 3 minutes. Hutchins had tricked a submarine commander into killing himself using phantom radar contacts. The convoy commodore noticed something unusual. HMS Starling had sunk a U-boat that should have escaped. Every other submarine that night had dove successfully when detected by radar. U-534 had surfaced directly into an attack position. He asked Hutchins how he'd known where the submarine would surface. Hutchins said he'd made an educated guess based on probable U-boat evasion tactics. The Commodore didn't believe him, but without evidence of unauthorized modifications, he couldn't prove anything. And Hutchins now knew his system worked. On March 28, Hutchins received orders to report to Admiral Sir Max Horton. The Admiral had questions about U-534's destruction. Hutchins told the truth. "Sir, I transmitted false radar signals to confuse the U-boat's detector. The submarine believed it was evading 2 destroyers when only one was present. It surfaced in what it calculated as a safe position. That position was directly in front of my guns." Admiral Horton stared at him. "You transmitted false signals using what equipment?" "Modified Type Das Sintos Setente Yun radar, sir." "Who authorized this modification?" "No one, sir. I performed the work myself without authorization." Silence. Then Horton spoke. "Lieutenant Commander, you violated the Naval Discipline Act by performing unauthorized modifications to critical equipment. You should be court-martialed." Hutchins said nothing. "However, your modification appears to work, and we're losing the Battle of the Atlantic. If this system can kill U-boats, I don't care if it violates every regulation in the Royal Navy." Horton made a decision that would change the war. "You're going to install this system on every destroyer in Western Approaches Command. You have 6 weeks. April 1943. 19 Royal Navy destroyers received the frequency multiplier modification. The system received an official designation Type 271M. Everyone called it Hutchins' trick. May 1943. The modified destroyers deployed to convoy escort duties. The results were immediate and devastating. Convoy on S5. 5 U-boats sunk using the modification. Convoy HX-237. 2 U-boats destroyed simultaneously, both surfacing where Hutchins' false signals told them it was safe. The German Naval Command noticed the pattern. U-boats that detected British radar were being destroyed when they should have escaped. Dönitz ordered an investigation. German engineers examined captured British radar sets and found nothing unusual, because they were examining destroyed ships sunk before receiving the Type 271M upgrade. By June 1943, German U-boat losses were catastrophic. 41 submarines sunk in May alone, the highest monthly loss rate of the entire war. Dönitz suspected the METOX detector was compromised. He issued orders for all U-boats to minimize radar detector usage. The directive was supposed to protect submarines. Instead, it made them more vulnerable. Now U-boats were surfacing into traps without any warning at all. June 1943. 23 U-boats sunk. 17 destroyed by destroyers using Type 271M. July 1943. 37 U-boats sunk. 24 killed by Hutchins' trick. German submarine commanders began reporting phantom destroyers. Some thought the British had developed teleportation technology. One commander, Capitaine Lieutenant Wolfgang Luth, figured out the British were transmitting false signals. He documented his theory and transmitted it to headquarters. British codebreakers intercepted the message. The Germans knew. The secret was compromised. Except it wasn't. Even though Luth understood what was happening, he didn't understand how. He didn't know about frequency multipliers or harmonic signals. His recommendation was to ignore all radar contacts and rely on visual sighting only. Dönitz rejected the recommendation. Operating submarines without radar warning was suicide. Allied air patrols covered the Atlantic continuously. The U-boats were trapped. August 1943. Admiral Horton convened a conference. The statistics told the story. March 1943. Before Type 271 M15 U-boats sunk by surface ships, 108 merchant ships lost. July 1943. After Type 271 M37 U-boats sunk, 21 merchant ships lost. The modification had reversed the Battle of the Atlantic. Merchant ship losses dropped by 75%. U-boat losses increased by 400%. Admiral Horton addressed the conference. 5 months ago we were losing this war. One officer using unauthorized modifications changed that. Lieutenant Commander Hutchins invented a system that turned the enemy's greatest advantage into a fatal weakness. This is how wars are won. By innovation. By officers willing to break regulations when those regulations are killing their men. He promoted Hutchins to commander on the spot. The Type 271M modification will be installed on all escort vessels in the Royal Navy, and anyone who calls this system Hutchins' folly again will be cleaning bilges until this war is over. The Type 271M remained operational until the end of the war. Final statistics: 127 confirmed U-boat kills. An additional 89 U-boats damaged or forced to surface where other weapons destroyed them. German naval intelligence never fully understood the system. Captured documents showed they suspected frequency manipulation but never determined the exact method. The modification influenced post-war radar development. Modern electronic warfare systems trace their ancestry directly to Hutchins' improvised modification in HMS Starling's radio room. Commander Philip Hutchins survived the war. He remained in the Royal Navy until 1958, retiring as captain. He received the Distinguished Service Order. The citation mentioned innovative tactics and technical expertise, but never detailed the Type 271M system, which remained classified until 1974. Hutchins died in 1992 at age 80. His obituary mentioned naval service but not the radar modification. Most of Britain never knew his name. But 2,400 Allied merchant sailors survived the war because of what he invented. 13,000 Royal Navy personnel served on ships protected by his system. An estimated 400,000 tons of supplies reached Britain that would have been sunk without Type 271M. The modification cost 40 feet of silver-plated wire, 6 hand-built capacitors, and 1 steel mess tray. It saved the Battle of the Atlantic. Sometimes the most important innovations come from people willing to break the rules when the rules are killing people. Hutchins' folly wasn't folly at all. It was genius wearing the disguise of insubordination, and 47 German U-boats learned that distinction too late. That's the story of how one ridiculous radio trick changed submarine warfare forever. If this story moved you the way it moved us, hit that like button. Every like tells YouTube to show this story to more people who need to hear it. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're rescuing forgotten stories from history's archives every single day. Drop a comment right now. Tell us where you're watching from. Are you watching from the UK, United States, Canada, Australia? And tell us, do you think Hutchins should have been court-martialed for unauthorized modifications, or was he right to break the rules? Thank you for watching. Thank you for making sure Commander Philip Hutchins and the 2,400 sailors he saved don't disappear into silence. These stories deserve to be remembered. You're helping make that happen.